Johnny Golden coming to you from Arlington, Massachusetts on election night, November 5th, 2024. And it looks like we are going to be disappointed on a number of reasons because we, meaning myself and my friend here, Michael, and everybody I know, has been rooting for Harris. And I thought, even as late as this morning, I thought that she's going to win. In fact, somebody on the radio said that maybe Trump was trying to lose. So his outrageous stuff over the past, well, in general, but the past 2 weeks should have sent people running away from what this could represent. It represents the worst of America. And it opens the doors for green light, for violence, for racism, anti-Semitism, sexism, I don't know, all the isms, right? And in a violent way, in a very dogmatic way. No room for discussion, no room for nuance. Okay, so what's going on technically right now is that it's not over, but it's looking bad in quite a number of places that could have been won by Harris, maybe should have been won. It looks like Harris is going to lose Georgia. However, it looks like she's going to win Michigan, which is important. We don't know yet about Pennsylvania. Obviously, the regular states, such as Massachusetts, New England, and so forth, she's going to win. She's already been declared winner, and New York and California. And the bottom line is that she will win the popular vote. The popular vote, the number of voters voting for her, if you add them up across the country. But that's not how our crazy system works. And the system works where it's this thing called electoral votes. And that means that each state gets a certain number of votes, and it's a winner take all in those states. So if a winner wins like 51% in a state, they get all the electoral votes. And the winner for the election only needs to get 270 electoral votes. So as Michael was saying, how could they understand this system in Europe, let alone understand it right here in the US? And there have been calls to end the electoral college system. But now, if Trump wins, and it looks possible that we're going to lose the Senate, which we've had, continue to lose the House of Representatives, we've lost the Supreme Court. Michael and I are packing our bags. We've got our passports. We're almost on the planes. We got to get out. We got to get out of this country. It's going to go so far right that it won't be funny. It won't be, there won't be Saturday Night Live, satire about it. It's going to be serious, and I'm worried about it. I was even more worried in the past, couple of days, but I thought that, I thought that eating pizza tonight with Michael would save the day, but it's not. And right now, our friend John King, who's probably the best guy on TV for doing the polling part, he pulls up the map. He's really great with that electronic map. He's Irish from Boston, from Dorchester. Right now, he's looking at, where's he looking at? Michigan. And what he does is he really knows the individual counties, and he pulls up results in each county in a state. Guy is really proficient at this. And he's on CNN. And right now, of course, big surprise, Trump has won Mississippi. No surprise there. Interesting that Harris might win New Hampshire, which has gone in various ways. And what's the other one on the left? I can't even see it. What's the one on the left, Michael, on the left at 27? Oh, is that the overall? Okay. The overall electoral college. New Jersey's going for Harris. No, for Trump, come on. But North Carolina is really, really close. It's probably too close to call. They need a certain amount of votes and percentage in before they call it for state. However, sometimes they project because even with a small number of votes in, even if there's a lot of votes still out there, they can project who's going to win based on those demographics. And the demographics are really interesting. Like, big cities tend to vote for Democrats, for Harris. The country area, the rural areas vote for Trump. And then the suburban areas are that's the key battleground, suburban voters. And what they say is that suburban white women voters are a key element. Everyone had thought, that Trump couldn't win this year because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade, which protects reproductive rights, abortion rights, and so forth for women. It was an amazing, outrageous turnover of a long, long precedent. It had been in the law for 40 years, I think. And the overturning by the Supreme Court of Roe versus Wade really, energized a lot of the electorate, specifically women, particularly women. It turns out that the number one concern across the country, number one issue that has been determined by polls is the worry about democracy, which I consider the number one issue. And you would think if that's the number one issue, that has to go in Harris's favor, because Trump doesn't have a democratic bone in his body, none in his DNA. You could go back hundreds of years in Trump's DNA and not find one iota of pro-democracy. And the fact that he might get elected, that doesn't mean that somebody's democratic. Just because we have elections doesn't mean that's democracy. Democracy also depends on things like rule of law, division of powers, civil rights, respect for individual freedoms, freedom of the press. All of those things are part of what is called democracy. It's not just voting. Hitler got elected in 1933. We don't have to make a comparison to him, but there's plenty of other authoritarian, semi-fascist or fascist leaders that were elected, even recently, in numbers of places. So we're not safe. We're not safe, even if Trump wins. I mean, especially if Trump wins. We're not safe by him saying, well, I won the election, or people saying, well, democracy prevailed, the voters spoke. That's the horse race. That's the horse race. The idea that all we have to do is look at the polls, count the votes, but not look at the principles, not look what's at stake. Not looking at what's at stake is absolutely necessary to get past the horse race. Looking at politics as a horse race is ridiculous. Politics is about power, and it's about values, and it's about history. It's about a lot of things. Unfortunately, I have to take a hit at the American public, because with all the fascist things that Trump has done throughout this election, throughout his career, and not just him, but his people close to him, J.D. Vance, Trump says he's going to pardon many of the people who attacked the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Many of the people. J.D. Vance is out of control. And then there's people like Steve Bannon and so forth. They're out there. And they have lined themselves up ready to have a new administration without any guardrails, no guardrails. There'll be nothing to stop Trump, because he won't have to run for re-election as he had to before. There's nothing going to stop him. And all of the critique, all of the incredible critique from everybody, from his niece, Mary Trump, who writes a piece every day in Substack to Timothy Snyder, one of the most brilliant people in the world, historian, on the nature of fascism and the nature of it in Eastern Europe. What's going to happen if Trump wins? Ukraine will be thrown under the bus. Ukraine will be thrown under the bus. Now, Netanyahu believes that Trump will back him to do any destructive thing he wants, including bombing Iran. That might be true. That's a disaster for Israel, even though Netanyahu thinks that's in his favor. No. In the long term, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's self-destructive. And what's he going to do about NATO and the European alliance and the European Union and our relations with Latin America and our relations with immigrants and our relations with Latinos like Puerto Rico? We all know about what happened the other day at that Madison Square Garden rally. And we all know that that site was probably chosen for the symbolic reason. It was a site, maybe symbolic reason. It was the site in 1939, right on the edge, right on the eve of World War II in Europe, of a pro-Nazi rally of Americans. The German-American Bund was the name of the organization, and they filled Madison Square Garden, and they had a huge swastika, and then in the center of the stage, and then George Washington on the sides, trying to equate Hitlerism, Nazism, fascism with America. Fortunately, what I read, but I haven't looked at recently, there were 100,000 people outside protesting. We need that kind of mass mobilization. And we need it to stand up for immigrants, for example. It's not enough to talk about it. It's not enough to talk about it. So I predicted, even if Trump wins, or especially if Trump wins, the amount of mass mobilization and mass demonstrations will even be larger than it was when he won in 2016. And I was at a lot of those demonstrations in Washington, a lot. So there has to be a broad-based movement in response to this. But we're now responding to a lot of stuff. I mean, more and more and more. And if they win the Senate and the House, and they've got the Supreme Court and the president, where are the brakes? Where's the guardrails? Where are the guardrails? So we're searching for the guardrails right now. And we have to do palm reading or something. Michael was trying to teach me palm reading tonight. I haven't made a lot of progress in that. But if I could predict what's going to happen, I'm saying just now what I said, that there will be mass protests. The question is, will that be sustained? As they start picking off groups to scapegoat, how much solidarity will there be? That's not been the case in history. Groups that are scapegoated are ignored until we know the famous quote from the Holocaust Museum, from the famous Lutheran minister, Bonhoeffer, who said first they came for the communists. I wasn't a communist. First they came, then they came for another group and another group. They came for the Jews. And by the time they came for him, there was nobody to support him. So it's possible that people haven't learned those lessons, haven't learned the lessons. And it's possible that groups will be singled out. I'm Jewish, I know in the depths of my bones that we will be scapegoated. One of the scapegoating things would be if he lost, we would have been scapegoated for causing Trump to lose. In this case, if he wins, it looks like he's going to win, the scapegoat will be the Jews are leading the effort to stop him, even though we're only 2% of the population of the country. And so when that starts, will enough people come to our support, or will they already be, overrun, or, overwrought, tired out from the other groups that will have already been attacked, like immigrants and other groups? So it goes down, it goes down, it goes down the food chain or up the food chain. And by the time we get to my people, my group, my group, there might not be a lot of solidarity or allies. And we're vulnerable. People think we're all powerful. They're full of shit. We're actually vulnerable. That's just one angle. Obviously, I'm being a little bit, narrow-minded here, maybe, but it's okay to be authentic. It's in fact important to be authentic and not just to be universal. To be authentic means to recognize your own clear issues, the ones that really affect you the most, and be able to talk to people in general. I don't just talk to Jews about this. I talk to everybody, everybody. And of course, I also talk about the outrageous knock on Puerto Ricans the other day at Madison Square Garden. And those jokes, so to speak, were vetted. They were known in advance. They were known by a campaign for president in advance that they would say Puerto Rico is an island of garbage. And we thought that Puerto Ricans in the US, and hopefully they did, would be enough to help prevent Trump from winning. But it takes a lot. Let me put my head up and look at what's going on. Where are we talking about right now? Are we talking about Colorado, right? Michael, is that Colorado?
Well, now it's Connecticut.
Where's it?
It's Connecticut now.
Oh, we're in Connecticut. What, it's close? No, we're winning well, right? We're winning pretty strongly in Connecticut, right? Yeah. But that's expected, the Northeast, pretty expected for victory. The South, the Midwest, those are hard. The West Coast, of course, is pro-Democrat. California, the votes haven't come in. New York State, votes haven't come in. A lot of votes, a lot of electoral votes, but not enough if we lose the others. If we win Pennsylvania and Michigan, which we might, and here we are, 50% to 48 in Berks County, and that is where again, Michael? Berks County?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Guys getting tired. People all over the country are getting tired. I mean, people have been tired of this shit. This campaign has gone on way too long. There should be a limit to how long campaigns. There's no other country in the world that spends, apparently Harris raised $1 billion. I don't know how much Trump raised. He's got Elon Musk offering everything, anything he can. So we're talking, let's say, billions on both sides. That is a waste of money. That is a waste of our energy. There's got to be a way to limit the amount of time. Now, there was a famous Supreme Court decision that said that it called Citizens United, that said that money was like a person, was like compared the spending of money, the unlimited spending of money, to the idea of the democracy of voting. And so they said you cannot, a state, a government, no entity can make any regulation on that. No regulation on the amount of money, no campaign finance regulation, which was done up until Citizens United, which was a decision, of course, by this ultra-right-wing Supreme Court. Now, let me talk about language, about rhetoric. The rhetoric when they call these really right-wing, semi-fascist actions or fascist actions, when they call it conservative, conservatives like Dwight Eisenhower, That's like conservative. That's not this. That is not this. Even like the first Bush, maybe he was conservative. George H.W. Bush. Maybe Reagan, maybe even Reagan, conservative. But that's not what these guys are about. They're on style, on tactics, on ideology, on strategy, nothing to do with conservatism, including in the Supreme Court. They've been breaking every single ethical, the people on the right, the 6 justices on the right, have been breaking all the standards and customs and values of the Supreme Court. I'm getting tired. I'm getting really tired, even though I'm eating some nice pizza from Otto. I'll give a plug to Otto. And I want to thank Michael for opening up his house. And of course, to my friend here, Johans, my incredible techno guy, cinematographer, editor, and all around troubleshooter. So I'm going to sign off, and I'll be watching tonight, and I hope you watch with me. And we'll try to make some change. Maybe if we stay up late enough, maybe we can help it change. Change for Harris. Thank you.
That was good, Joe.